Good morning. Welcome to Crazy Town. I don't even, they were. Good morning, Aaron. How are you? Bum, 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 bum. Hey, Dawn. Good morning. How are you? Hey, Clara. Considering the state we're in, that's fair. Fair. Hey, Mental Millennial. Hey, Gloria. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good morning, Brianna. Dog hurt his foot. Kids are homesick. It's a Monday, pretending to be a Thursday. How are you? I'm doing okay. I realized this morning that I need to change the name of my podcast, and I hate doing that. So, hey Kia, why? Uh, More Perfect Union is too well known, and it becomes very searchability for this podcast is really bad. So, Vance is admitting that he's a piece of shit, and definitely part of the problem. I will use any help. We did kind of know that. I was hoping after a year of doing it that my stuff would kind of move up the list, but it hasn't. It has in certain places, but it hasn't in like places like Google. So, um not really. I only started working on it today, but oh no, he said they were kids. Said it straight up. When he talked about it in the press conference. No, go find the clip. Pretty easy. Morning. Hey DD. Hey Hyde. Is it like Heidi? Hey RJ. Oh, no worries. I hope you had a good vacation. No, it's a GOP shutdown. Just ignore you. Okay. No, he said it. Literally has been talked about multiple times. But, you know, Democrats aren't in the majority. Why are they so worked up about the No Kings rally? Because they know there'll be a lot of people there. Hey, Laura. Hey, Julie. That's what he said. My boy? He's not my boy. What are you talking about? Nope, not a Dem shutdown. I know exactly what the Dems want money for. Called a negotiation. You heard of it? You understand how negotiations work? Hey, Kayla. What they are willing to vote to add? Subsidies on the Affordable Care Act. That's what they want. Why not open government? No, that's not how things work. They had months to negotiate. They chose to not. They had months to negotiate and they chose not to do a damn thing about it. Thank you, Alejandro. No, Don, they aren't. You disagree with me. Okay. You're allowed to. Okay. Thanks. Uh, but yeah, I've been talking with Theory a bit back and forth, and I realized I'm really bad at names. So this should be interesting. Can't say much more. Get blocked. That's how you roll. What are you talking about? You're more likely to get blocked for whining like that than you are for anything you said before. No, Brad, not. Or GOP shutdown. Hey, Patty. If you think that the only thing that's required to make it the fault of the other group is the lack of voting, then you have no um, understanding of reality or how our government works. Republican shutdown because the Republicans chose not to negotiate with the minority when they knew they needed minority votes. Hey, Philip. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Good morning, Jill. Been a lot of crazy news. The man who is all about not starting new conflicts is now sending the CIA into Venezuela and trying to start a conflict with Venezuela. How's that for no conflict? Shouldn't break into our country. No one's breaking into our country. It's not the Schumer shutdown. It's the GOP shutdown. Whose comment? Yeah. Okay. That's fine. It's I don't know if you can. As long as she's still here, which she is. Oh no, you're good, Brianna. I appreciate that. Aw, Steve. By the way, hi Vonda. I appreciate you spending the time helping me think. I have been told, just so you know, I've been told by theory that I need to be bold. Needs to be a bold name. That gives a glimpse of the mission or ethos. Hey, Ace. Seem like a nice person. I try to be a nice person. Sometimes I get annoyed and I get a little snippy, but in general, I try and be nice. Hey, Angel. You refuse to be a bald man? Okay. I hope that works for you. Oh, I know it's good advice. I'm just bad at the actual doing of it. Heidi, is your last name like pronounced gross, like you gross, or is it like gross? And I only ask because I know someone else whose last name is gross. And that would be crazy if it's the same. Do you know an Emily Gross? I mean, maybe that's a really common last name, so you don't, but the filibustered. They aren't kids. I agree. They are grown men. I know an Emily Gross in New York. I think that's hilarious and pretty cool. Those texts were deplorable. You're good, Wiegand. I appreciate you coming in and doing that. Oh yeah, if it were Democrats that would have done it, they would have lost their mind. It is a very uncommon last name. Where am I from? I mean, I'm originally from Massachusetts. I live in North Carolina right now. Okay, Kirby. Nope. I can call it a GOP shutdown because it is, because I understand how reality works. Democrats have lost it. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Trying to think what other stuff was going on when pickles run amok. True. True. Nope. Sorry. Democrats did not shut it down. Good mythical morning. You too, Kyle. Hey, KJ. A more pickle. Hey, Jeremiah. Guys, just so you know, if you're over here, I'm also live on the tube at the same time. Over there, you don't have to worry about stuff getting filtered out. It's a much cooler place to be. I'm trying to get my views up over there so I can keep doing this. All right, Brianna. Why do we have to fund other countries' social programs? we don't. Sometimes it's good to be helpful to other countries. It has a thing called soft power, but we don't. It's called putting people in office that are, right now we can't even pass a budget because people aren't willing to work. Then tell AOC that, genius. What? We just sent 40 billion to I know, and I disagree with it. What happens when we put people in office that are willing to do those things? They aren't stopping. Republicans are the one that just sent $40 billion to Argentina. They're not stopping anything. Good mythical morning. You got to let them know the cool people. That's right. The cool people hang out on the tube. That's true. Term limits? We do technically have term limits. It's called voting. People just don't want to go and vote in things like the primaries, so that ends up not happening. Now, does that mean that we should never have term limits? No, we definitely should on Supreme Court justices. Prove that it's waste and fraud. What makes it waste and fraud to you? Is it just because you don't agree with it that it's waste and fraud? Look it up. Nope. I said, what do you consider waste and fraud? You're saying it's waste and fraud. What do you consider waste and fraud? The list is too long. Well, then you don't have any authority to say anything. You're not even going to give me examples of what you consider waste and fraud. Then what's the point of the conversation? Because most likely I'm going to look at the things and not think that they're waste and fraud. That's not specifics. I need specifics. What do you consider waste and fraud? Everyone's opinion on what waste and fraud is different. 15% of our federal income going to interest is a waste. Sure. The only way you're going to pay back is by increasing the income via taxes. Sure, we can decrease some of our spending, especially in the military. But we can't keep reducing spending and income and expect to pay anything back. And we're not even reducing spending. We're increasing. The big beautiful bill is going to increase our national debt by $4.5 trillion. No, woo pig. GOP shutdown, but thanks for playing. Let me find that broccoli. Who's not negotiating with people that they need votes from? Who? Morning, Jose. Who's not negotiating? The majority's job is to negotiate to get the votes. I don't even know what that is, Lane. So I can't answer that. What are we up to today? We're talking about what's going on in the world. You know, the joys. There's something you'd like to talk about? I'm more than welcome to. I put a thing above my head that can start discussion, but we talk about whatever. Oh, what kids do statement was horrible. You lost the election. So? You don't have a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. Deal with it. No, no, no. Not more perfect union. No, no, no. Sorry. I am not. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, user blah, 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 blah. Nuh-uh. The firing of special ed people from the DOE. I totally hear you, Potato Girl. Okay. Okay, Mike Maloney. You're talking about the Republicans who just spent $40 billion on Argentina. That just sent $40 billion to Argentina. That's focusing on Americans. Got it. Got it. And that's completely fine that you believe that you want that. I don't believe that should be a hard, fast statement as the wealthiest country in the world. But to prop up their government because the president is our president's friend. Aw, Angelo, goodbye. Grow up, child. There's got to be another reason. It's not American. And even if there is, if things are so bad here, we shouldn't just be sending $40 billion. No, Grizzly Bear, they didn't. This is going to be a long shutdown. It definitely has the potential of being it. That is for sure. Well, lawful expat, thank you for showing us that you are the problem. I mean, that's literally all you're doing is showing that you are part of the problem. With air traffic controllers' absence. Yep. It's amazing to me that we are in a time that people are willing to come out and be explicit with that mentality. Isn't that crazy that we are living in that kind of a world today? But is it a joke? Again, is it a joke? You say it's a joke, and yet I'm not sure it is. Term limits. We do have term limits. It's called primaries. You can primary everyone if you get someone to run. If they're doing a bad job, hold them accountable. Primary them. Again, not saying I'm 100. Nope. Oh, okay. Well, obviously you don't really care. So thanks for playing. They gotta have the money. No, they don't. Money doesn't control people's votes. Do you vote? Do you only pay attention to ads that are in the newspaper, or do you research things? Only what? 15 to 20% of the voting population even votes in the primaries? You don't gotta have the money. They do. It costs to run. You're right. It does cost to run. And you can raise money. You don't need millions of dollars. Not if people are paying attention. I'm not saying you don't vote. I'm asking, do you actually research and pay attention? Most people don't. I mean, JT, the AI in this app is pretty crappy. So, no, you're in complete denial, Ryan, that the GOP won't negotiate to get the votes that they need to keep the government open. But thanks for playing. Thank you, guys. They vote for a name they recognize. Yeah, because they don't do any research, because they don't actually care, because they don't actually pay attention to what's going on in the world. So the problem is not term limits. The problem is the people don't actually do the work. So how about we push people to start doing the work instead of just making up term limits? How do you like North Carolina? It's okay. Sometimes I like it. Some things I like, some things I don't. But the people aren't going to do that. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess we should just give up. I guess the right thing to do is just not even bother trying, because just people aren't going to do it. Actually, you know what? Technically, the majority could open it today. They could get rid of the filibuster and open it today. But they don't want to get rid of the filibuster. Well, yeah. That's still true. They could get rid of it. They could pass it today if they wanted. But that would involve getting rid of the filibuster. With the filibuster in place, they need 60 votes, which means they need to negotiate. So they have to do it. That's opening Pandora's box. Right. Exactly. Which is why they won't do it. Which means they need to negotiate. Which means the majority's responsibility is to negotiate to get the votes they need, not sit here and try and You're going to vote for this or we're going to whine and complain. I disagree that the filibuster is needed to go. Congress just needs to learn to do their frickin' job. I don't like the idea of our entire government running based on majority rule. Laws being made based on majority rule, budgets being made based on just having the simple majority. I don't like it. There is no Congress. There is no functioning Congress. There's still a Congress. Last line of defense. It just gives a small amount of power to the minority. I don't consider it a last line of defense. That's assuming that any side is incapable of doing something good. Hey, Night Shifter. Do you think the Dems will go with the right? You mean give in? No. Nor should they. Sure, both sides used it. Because there's very few times there have been a tiny amount of times that that any side has had a filibuster proof majority. You almost got fired for posting the actual. Yeah, I know. Now, to be fair, the month-long vacation they're taking off is thanks to one person. A lot of them are working, at least trying to, at least on the Democrat side. They literally could get the government open by adding ACA subsidies back in. There's no reason for them to have to be together to vote with the technology we have. That's a whole different problem. I agree. Stop spending millions on travel. There's a lot of things they need to stop spending millions on. Again, I have no argument that there isn't wasteful spending. It's what they're spending. That's why I always ask, what do people consider as wasteful? No, Philip, it does not vindicate Schumer. No. I appreciate that he grew a spine, but it does not vindicate him. He also pushed a 77, soon to be 78-year-old to run for Senate in Maine. And again, nothing against her, but everyone's wanting younger and to push for someone who is going to be 79 by the time she is, if she wins, by the time she's senator? No. He does one good thing and then he does another dumb thing. Yes, MK. I do believe in age limits. And term limits already exist. It's called the primaries. We just need to do it. So weird. The fact that our farmers are suffering and he gave Argentina 40 billion is wild. Yep. It's not a distraction from the files. Top on age limits? Retirement age. Retirement age. If those people after want to have a position or want to have something, I would totally be okay with us creating some sort of position for people that have been in office a while to help younger, like what's it called? Yeah, an advisor, mentor, something like that. Yeah. You're on the struggle bus this morning. What's wrong? Not shutting down the government the first time seemed bad when it happened. However, the time has allowed the GOP's political capital to tank. I just think it's hilarious the multitude of different ways that Mike Johnson is trying to frame it. It's literally, you can see him throwing things against the wall and hoping something hits. It's kind of wild. I think the biggest thing that I'm nervous about right now is SCOTUS and the Voting Rights Act. Them trying to pretend that the Voting Rights Act should have an end date. Oh no. I'm sorry, Kia. It's got to be pretty nuts having that many cats in the house. You like an end date? Oh, it was the dog. Yeah, Philip. I mean, I honestly think that if we have a shutdown, it should Congress shouldn't be allowed to do anything other than work on the budget. No other committee meetings. If they have a committee meeting, it's on passing either a continuing resolution or a budget. That's it. I don't mind the pay thing, because the fact is if they can't work on anything else, I mean, maybe a pay decrease, because it's not everyone's fault when it doesn't happen. But it also isn't. I just think I have learned over the years that people with bad intentions will use things on both sides, even if we think it will help. But Obamacare was passed in 2010. The shutdown was in 2013. So that didn't happen, QTK. Maybe you need to understand timelines. Have you seen the funny videos about the cats on TikTok? I don't think so. Just bringing up something else? Okay. Completely ignoring the fact that you lied in your first statement? I hear you, MK. Where are the dogs? They're in the backyard of our next door neighbors. There's like 8 of them. They go crazy at everything. Like they probably hear me through the window sometimes and go crazy. Interest payments on our debt weren't so horrific. They could afford to do so much. They could definitely afford to do more. The subsidies, sure. Okay. And situations change after 5 years. Don't you think that everyone should be looking at the current realities, not the back then realities? And the current realities is if those subsidies go away, tens of millions of people will lose their their health insurance probably. I think they have to be, but I also think the healthcare system needs to be fixed. Especially the insurance system, but the healthcare system as a whole. So extend the subsidies and then work on the system. Aw, thanks, Emmy. Guys, everyone who's on here, just so you know, I'm also over on the tube, trying to grow over there. Any help, whether it's subscribing, watching my stuff, or hanging out during the live, appreciate it. It would mean a lot. There's 14 people over there. They're hanging out. They're having a good time. They are taking it away if they aren't willing to talk about it. And no offense, but Fetterman is not someone who I will listen to anymore. Like, thanks, Allison. Hey, Garpu. Comment section's better. And again, I completely understand your perspective, and I know what he said. I'm not a fan of Fetterman or Fetterman's perspectives on things. And yes, that was added in, and it had an end date. Chances are the end date was a negotiation to get it through the Senate, if we're being honest. Not listening? Oh, I listened. I disagree. Do I have to agree? Is listening involving agreeing? I think there's more to it. I didn't say I wouldn't listen to what he said. Maybe I said the word, but that's not what I meant. If I did accidentally say that, I meant because Fetterman calls himself a Democrat does not mean I agree with his perspective on it. Let's put it that way. I don't agree with his perspective. We need everyone in the middle to get through this. I disagree. We need everyone to be willing to talk and agree on fundamentals to get through this. Besides, MAGA's not willing to head towards the middle. Why should people on the left be forced to get towards the middle? MAGA's not even willing to negotiate at all. How is that being willing to go to the middle? Arguably, the Democrats were willing to go to the middle because what they wanted and what they're willing to accept are two different things. Where is your concern now? Because kids say stupid things when they're kids? What? Yeah, they're not kids. And again, his whole dismissal, Vance's dismissal of it as that's what kids do, we shouldn't ruin their lives because of it kind of a thing, was so disgusting. Not in the way they're talking about MK, but I think to some extent there will always need to be some level of meeting in the middle, but not in the way that the Republicans are talking about in order to get things done. The Republicans want just the left to move. They don't want to have to move at all. Oh, I know. They're not kids. I'm just saying what Vance said. Uh-huh. Sure they are. Country will never get better. So you think you think that there can't be an expectation for the right to move to the center? There can't be that expectation? That's not how progress works. I did see what she said. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. But I think a lot of people feel that way because they feel like they're the only ones ever being asked to move to the center. The people that want progress. Anything better than the last 4 years. That is, you obviously have no clue what's going on and have had no clue what's been going on in the world to make that statement. I'm sorry. No, you don't. If you're making that kind of a statement, you don't. These last 8 months have been worse than the last 4 years combined. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Anna. Yes. What's up, Ash? Well, let's see. Inflation is going back up. Tariffs are costing more money for people. The cost of living, the cost of energy is going up. The cost of insurance is going up. Our place in the world stage is going away. We're destroying our relationships with our closest allies. We have a government that is sending military into cities. ICE is being used as a military force and taking away Americans' rights. Good? Grow up, piece of shit. They are not going down in North Carolina. I live in North Carolina. Marxist word spin? Oh my gosh. Also, grow up. Yeah. Basically telling the Pentagon, telling news media that they can't do their job while being in there. So now the Pentagon is going to have no oversight by the media. Like the first time in who knows how long that right wing and more progressive news agencies are on the same page about something. What do you think about media spreading false information, whether it's good or bad? I think if you're going to make that statement, we have to agree that facts are not subjective. Okay. If we agree that facts are not subjective, then I think there needs to be the capability of holding news agencies that spread factually false information accountable. No matter which side they're on. Pensions are targeted. It's sad. Yeah. Media only gives their opinion and not the facts. I disagree with that. I think even right-wing media sources have given facts before. I think a lot of places will spin it for clickbait, which I disagree with. I think lots of places will say false information. I think the problem right now is that media as a whole is about making money. And as long as media is more about getting clicks and getting views than it is about telling the truth, that's always going to be a problem. They will spin things in such a way that will get them more clicks and get them more views. But that's the problem when you get rid of regulations. Since Reagan, and again, whether or not you fully agree with it, and I'm sure maybe some Democrats have done it, but most of the regulations that have protected industries and protected these kind of things have come from Republican administrations. Luke, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that is too generalized a statement to make. I think most of the time they actually are giving the correct information to an extent, at least. But people are not reading past the headlines. I think oftentimes people don't read past the headlines, or they read one thing and they go with that, or they don't look any deeper into it, or they look at from their bias and they aren't willing to go any farther on it. Like, there's a lot to it. Hey, Di, good morning. How are you doing? This is why I say the problems that we're dealing with are not just one. Anyone that says it's one thing, that's the problem. That's one of the reasons that we mute people that say that it's just this that's the problem. It's not. It never is. It's never just one thing, okay? It's never. There's always at minimum probably 3 or 4 things that are literally building on each other that are causing the problem that we're dealing with. And that's something that we need to live with. Do you think all of this is just a cover up? I have not seen anything that makes me be willing to think that yet. Let's put it that way. Am I going to deny that there's no possibility of it? No. But I have yet to see anything. Have you heard anything about the aliens? Aliens would explain a lot. Usually when there's political drama, there's something deeper going on. I think that's too black and white of a statement to make, but it would not surprise me if at least some of the times there's something else going on. Laura, that's not stupid of you to think that. Good morning, Green Ink Pen. Die. I've been watching a lot of stuff about the SCOTUS hearing yesterday, and it's made me quite depressed. Good morning, Loki. What's up, Shug? Yeah, the voter rights. Yep. So there were arguments. Hold on. This has been coming for. Oh, I know. I understand it's been coming, but it's still depressing that we are to hear Supreme Court justices say that, to try and argue that basically racism as a whole may be over. So the need for the Voting Rights Act, for Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, is no longer necessary. I agree with you, Jill. But many of the Supreme Court justices seem to disagree. What will we be left with? A lot more gerrymandering. A lot more gerrymandering. Again, I think there's this exceptionalism idea in many conservatives that think that the country is better than it really is. Their argument is that there should be a time limit on some of these things, Lisa. That some of these things are not indefinite for whatever reason. Oh, I understand. They are not actually kids. I'm just saying what Vance called them. To be fair, Di, I was disappointed in a lot of their takes on it. Not just hers. This idea, this is why I say, like, why do you think the right is so scrutinized politically compared to the left? They're both scrutinized. I think the reason that the right feel more scrutinized now is because the right are doing things that are being more they're being more extreme right now. How so? You've got a president who's trying to run the entire country via executive order, even though executive orders aren't laws. You've got a right wing, a GOP government, Congress that is trying to basically not do its job as the majority. That's not swearing in a politician. That's ignoring the Constitution. You've got a right-leaning Supreme Court that is taking away rights that have been around for 50 years or more in many cases. You've got a GOP administration that is sending their own police force into cities without without working with the governments of those states or cities at all, and just rounding up people, often citizens, taking away due process from all people in this country, which is a constitutional right. The war in the Middle East is not over now. They have already broken the ceasefire. Six Palestinians lost their life already, and they've already cut the number of trucks to go through in half. Yes, but the problem is it's the Israeli government that is deciding that the agreement has been broken and punishing everyone there. It's not something that is set up in the agreement on how you work it. Israel just gets to decide whether or not something is they like or don't like something, and are just making decisions based on that. That's not peace. Yes, if any side breaks the agreement, there should be consequences. But it should not be up to Israel to decide that the other side has broken it and to just make the decision. Can I explain why the left is not radical? Okay. I would love to have this conversation. What about the left do you believe is radical? Because I think I need to know what you consider radical. I understand that, but I want to know what you consider radical. Because I could say a bunch of things and you just say they're radical. Sure, both parties are scrutinized. But I don't think the left is radical. I guess that's my big thing. I don't think that the left is radical. That doesn't mean the left does everything perfect. You've got the unaliving of a CEO, regardless. You've got the way people on the left respond when things happen to people on the right that I don't agree with. CCJ, goodbye. Nope. See, Muffler Man, wrong. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Just because you don't understand how that can be does not make your idea right. Why does that make your idea right? It's because it's not an idea. Who am I to tell a trans woman that they are not a woman? Who are you to tell a trans woman that they're not a woman? It feels weird to us who are cisgender because we are not trans. But if you've ever interacted with someone in that community, they are. Here's the biggest thing, Luke. If I ever have disagreements with the quote unquote far left, it's how they interact with people that disagree with them. I think sometimes they get a little elitist and think they have all the answers. But in terms of the things they actually stand for and want, I much more agree with them on that. Yeah. You know, it's hard for me to not criticize people that voted for a man with 34 felonies, or that or that call him a model Christian when he cheated on all of his wives and openly talked about grabbing women's private parts. I just that is I'm assuming Luke has already left the conversation because he hasn't been talking. And I feel bad about that because he was talking and we were having a conversation. Hey, Hannah. Hi. Guys, if you watched the episode this morning, Hannah is the Hannah that I interviewed. How are you doing, friend? Hey, Emma. How are things in Alaska? Over caffeinated, but you're here. Word. Is there such thing as an over caffeinated morning? For those of you that haven't watched it yet, Hannah runs a thing called Influence NC, who is going around to colleges and talking with Gen Z, looking at what they, talking with them about what they need, what they're looking for, what they're feeling when it comes to politics, and working with politicians on helping them learn how to use technology. Hannah, do you want to come up and actually explain it? You don't need to turn your camera on, but you're welcome to come up and actually explain it if you'd like. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's another over-caffeinated, long morning already. Happy 16th day of the federal shutdown and
Ugh.
happy day 4 of talking about gerrymandering in North Carolina. Um, yeah, a little bit about Influence NC. We do 3 things. We train elected officials on how to better use social media. That way, constituents hopefully can see their representative and figure out what the heck they do in their jobs as elected officials. We are traveling all across the state to capture the really great things going on. I know that in the news there's a lot of bad things, but there are also some great things going on in North Carolina. So we're going to capture that, and that's through visiting college campuses and doing happy hours. We have a happy hour in Asheville next week. And then the goal would be next year to have a paid creator program. So that's in the works. That is funding permitting, but really just trying to use social media as a tool to get more people to vote since we know young people aren't voting, which I completely understand. But yeah, we're just trying to make it a little bit more fun and lively to get people back involved in local and state level politics.
There you go. Yeah. It was a it was a fun recording. It was fun to learn. I actually don't do as much stuff about North Carolina as I should just because there's so much going on everywhere, but
Yeah, that was one of the things because I think there's a lot of great creators, yourself included, that's doing a lot of like big federal stuff. And I feel like sometimes the small things get missed. And so I thought, one of the things we did, I did a live stream from a Wake County School Board meeting and
yeah.
just talking about like the great things that were happening there and just the ways that people can organize and get involved in their towns and communities and things like that. Yeah, so trying something out. We'll see how it goes.
Hey, you know, any little bit. We definitely have a few North Carolinians in the community, so we'll push out where we can. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Is there been any new news? We know that the North Carolina legislature is looking at gerrymandering another seat.
Yes, gerrymandering another seat. They're in session on Monday and Tuesday. I will be there all day, both days. Kind of what you'll see on our end, I'll be doing interviews with both senators and House reps, both Republicans and Democrats, as well as giving just a brief of what's going on. I'm anticipating 2 very long days. We think it'll be potentially the last time they're back in session before the end of the year, which means they're going to put a lot in. They're going to pack a lot in for the next 2 days. So definitely follow Influence NC if you want kind of that on the ground take of what's going on at your state legislature in North Carolina.
Does is the gerrymandering something that Stein can veto?
So we're in a really funky time in terms of his veto-proof power because right now it only would take one Democrat for a veto, one Democrat to vote Republican or with the Republicans to have a veto be overturned. With some of the news that I'm sure folks have seen in North Carolina, we know maybe some of our Democratic legislators will not be making it to the General Assembly on Monday and Tuesday.
Ooh.
Yep. So we don't really know. We know that there's a couple of vetoes they're going to try to be overridden. We're not sure which ones. We're thinking the schedule will drop on Sunday, but we'll have a better idea of what they'll try to override in terms of vetoes this weekend.
It's never a dull moment. That's for
No,
sure.
never.
Anyone have any questions that they want to ask? We've got like from our fellow North Carolinians. Because I already did this whole interview thing with her. You guys can just watch it.
Please do. It was my first podcast with Influence NC ever, so I'm glad that you could kick it off.
Speak on races that are coming up. Are there any big races coming up?
Yeah,
Obviously,
so
tons.
this year we have local elections. So I think we have something like 2,000 people across the ballot in North Carolina this year. So we have a lot of local races: Durham, Garner, Charlotte. Yeah, there's a ton. So definitely vote local. We actually, today's the first day of early voting. So if you are able to vote early, if you haven't registered to vote, you should be able to still do that or update your registration at your early voting place. So definitely see who's on your ballot. And then 2026, we have our Supreme Court races in North Carolina. So that will be a big one. We know that the last time we had a Supreme Court race here in the state, we had a lot of drama and it had a lot of press because an election was trying to be stolen. And so we're anticipating potentially something similar this next year, hopefully not. But those races that people don't really pay attention to, but they should because they impact us deeply when it comes to basic day to day life, but also our ability to kind of just operate as North Carolinians based on what the Supreme Court is choosing and kind of how they rule. So, yeah, Supreme Court's next year, local races are this year, local races are next year as well.
So get out and vote.
Yes.
Because
You should be voting like every year, it feels like, which is what it should be.
Yep. And that's everywhere. That's in every state, because every state usually has elections, even if it's just local ones, every single year. So
Awesome. Well, I have an 11:15,
okay.
so I'm going to run, but it was so great talking with you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up. Are trying to get in NC one Philip. So they're talking about doing another redistricting to get one more seat. Sure, Kia. Ooh-ah.
Well, two things. One thing actually does have to do with this. They were showing on WRAL how the GOP has gerrymandered this state, how it used to be like 7-7 seats, and now it's 10-4 because of how they've gerrymandered it.
Mhm.
And it's just like these courts in here saying that this stuff is like legal and like that. When you were saying that stuff about the Voting Rights Act, you can't. This country, for the entirety of its existence, has been racist. They did not just all of a sudden not become racist because of a law that was passed, a voting rights section was passed. To say that racism is not still happening is so racist in and of itself. It's just, that's what made me stop watching Bill Maher. He made that comment one day and I stopped watching him in that moment. So I was like, how out of touch are you with your smirk and your greasy slick back hair talking about, I don't think racism's a problem anymore. Says the rich white dude sitting up on HBO on camera. But,
Oh, and it also doesn't help that that on the Supreme Court there is a black man who also believes that, or at least is voting that way.
Yeah. I forgot where we are. I was going to make a comment about that, but I'm going to just say we don't claim them.
And that's fair.
I'll leave it at that. Just like a lady by the last name of Owens. We don't claim her neither.
Yep.
But something, it was totally different and wild that I actually I was doing something with the cats and then noticed that my that RTP was on. And he was playing this story and I listened and they were talking about Montana. And about how with all of this, how money and the deregulation of like money and politics and just different rules that allow money can literally change. And I don't ever think about Montana, honestly, other than big sky country and that's pretty. But they were talking about, they went into a deep dive about how these billionaires were allowed to buy up a side of a fucking mountain and build a private ski resort for multi-millionaire billionaires use. The town has got so expensive that the people that work there can't afford to live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the townhouses, they had townhouses starting at $459,000. Regular standalone homes in that area, $900,000.
Yeah.
And just talking about how it all ties together. And as I was listening to it, I was like, see, I keep talking about how all this stuff just ties together. There's some like they were talking about like they've lost like 80,000 jobs, and like especially in like mining. So like this town that used to be huge is down to like 36,000 people. Um man.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, Lisa. Yep. It was just so crazy when you see like when what deregulation, and then it's like, okay, so let's pull, because they were trying to pull people out of these, out of California and New York and these other states, talking about, oh, you could come here and it'll be cheaper, but how devastating it is for the normal people like living there.
Yep.
She's not allowed to go back to Australia. That's what you get. That's
Mm.
exactly what happened there. And it's just crazy because when you think about like the cost of stuff, like, and you sit here and you're screaming about immigrants coming over here and stuff, and it's like they're not the ones that are pricing you out of house and home. That's not what's happening. Y'all need to stop being okay and keep voting for all these corporations to keep getting all these loopholes and tax breaks and all these other things.
Yep.
Have you heard anything about that? What was happening in Montana?
I heard that something was going on in Montana. I did not get a chance to look into it, but I heard that Montana and money in politics like was becoming a story.
Yeah, like I can't remember who he played. It was somebody. It's like a story, a group that researches and all this kind of stuff, keeps up with this kind of stuff. From my understanding, from the way he said it, the group is probably pretty well known, and I just cannot remember the name of it right now. But it was like, like watching how they break everything down and how they tie it together. They were like interviewing people that like live there, and how much it changed everything. That bear is so cute.
Thank you, Mission. I did see a report talking about alligator Alcatraz and how so it got a district judge said that they had to shut it down because they didn't do the whole environmental impact study before started building it, and then it got overturned in appeals because the state argued that it was using state money, not federal money. But I guess they got the federal government gave them like $400 million or something like that, and part of that was for the cost of alligator Alcatraz building. So they lied. Now the question is, will anything come of it? I'd love to say yes, but I don't trust that that's going to happen. Not with this government.
And yes, Philip, they were saying that Yellowstone was like trying to help get people to come to Montana. Like, look how big and pretty and open it is, and made it into like this tourist destination. And yeah, Lisa, how the billionaires went in there and they bought up all this land, charging all this ridiculous pricing for these homes and stuff that people don't make enough money that live in that area to even afford.
Yeah, you tell them.
But yeah, this morning, my day started off great at 4 o'clock this morning. I get a bang on the door, sounding like it's the police, but it's my bedroom door. So I'm like, what? But when I just went to sleep at like 2:45, here it is 4 o'clock, and I'm like, and it's my son. He's like, come look at this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, poor Zoe. She was not feeling good. And then she started slipping in it, and it made a mess all over, and on Damon's bathroom floor, the hallway floor, the wall, the gate, her bed. through the house wherever she walked. Yeah.
Those are probably the reasons we will never have a dog in our house. I think my wife would just lose it. She's
Yeah, Jay doesn't handle that kind of stuff well. He couldn't help. So Damon and I cleaned it up. You're
but
eating? I'm sorry, Mo.
but yes, Jill, I've seen a lot of stuff, and Lisa, about especially in places like Montana where they're gentrifying the whole state and making it impossible for people for most of the people that already live there to afford it.
And I don't think they realize too, one of the things, because like it's about the money. You follow the money everywhere for all kinds of things. And just like with like the taxation, with like how the schools are funded by taxes in that area. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. It should be whatever the taxes gets for the state. Everybody gets it broken down. It's, because you're basically saying it's okay to give kids that live in poor areas a poorer education just because their parents don't make a lot of money or their family don't have a lot of money. That's just so jacked up. And that's another one of those things where when people say racism doesn't exist, look at where a lot of those schools are.
Mm.
Look at a lot of these communities where they're wanting to put these big ass, uh, uh, what is it? Those battery, what are they? The plants for the power stations. They're wanting to put those all over. They like where they're wanting to put all these railroad like yards. They're look at the areas where they put them. Look where they put like a lot of like the not the landfills, the other thing where they dig up quarries, like the quarries. Look where those quarries and stuff are. There's so much, and it's I think it's for me it's like I finally feel that after 20 years of thinking like something is really off, and here it is just getting worse, that I wasn't just being a worrywart. Data centers, thank you.
Yeah, data centers and these new AI data centers are going to cause a lot of problems in this country. Not to mention that there's a very good chance that the economy could collapse because of how much money we're spending on data centers.
Yeah, and like people don't understand like you don't want them in your neighborhood because that's going to make your light bill go up even more than it already is. Oh my gosh.
Light bill, causing water shortage because they're using water to keep everything cool. So they're taking people's water away. Yep, there's a lot of bad. Not to mention the fact that they have spent so many billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. Like the entire like everyone's like, "Oh, look at the GDP. Look how good it is." When people realize that most of that is AI right now. So if AI crashes or if people stop funding AI, there goes the economy. Literally AI has been carrying the United States economy on its back for a while now.
Pia, sorry. In on the tube, I call her Pia, perfectly imperfect Aaron. They said on the tube why they're building AI data centers in Texas when our power grid already struggles. I will never understand. I thought about that myself, and I was like, didn't isn't Texas where they had that ice storm and like basically the whole it was just like shut down?
Um, because yeah, it's money. Because Texas is giving them massive tax breaks to build there. We are cheering for the thing that will take over our jobs. I don't think AI is going to take over our jobs in the way that a lot of people fear it will. It might for a little while, but I don't think it will. I could be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. But I think right now there are just a lot of people that like it because it's new. I think the more you interact with it, the more you realize and notice the difference between AI and actual people doing things. While we are still not, the problem right now is that it's still new to people, so they can't tell the differences, which is why you have people that are saying AI stuff and thinking that it's, and making TikToks and tweets about things that aren't real. So,
Hey, Mike. Hey, Kia.
what's up, Suge?
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting my son situated with his lunch.
No, you're good.
There was a few, there was a few points I'm gonna back up a little bit about when Kia was talking about, saying like racism doesn't exist. Listen, it's pretty simple, right? If racism doesn't exist, as some claim, then why are there supremacist groups? You know what I mean? Like it's pretty straightforward to see. What are all these supremacist groups talking about if racism doesn't exist? Also, you have to look at the people who are around, because those are the people that are supporting this current administration tooth and nail. A large portion. Obviously, they're not the only ones, but there's a large portion of them. So here's the thing: if they're all saying, "Oh, he's going to be great for our agenda. He's going to be great for our agenda," and they're clearly showing you what their agenda is and talk about it very openly, hold conferences about these things. If they're saying he's going to be great for our agenda, and you are someone who's on the fence about voting for him or the other person, right? Or whether you should be supporting him or not. Think about this. How can he simultaneously be great for them and also be great for you? That's not going to work. That doesn't work.
And the annoying thing about the arguments that were made is the argument was basically, it wasn't really that that was the statements that were being made by SCOTUS. The arguments that were made, the argument for this whole thing that was going on in SCOTUS is that the is that we basically have gotten to a point now where the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is now racist towards people that look like me. That is the argument that they are making now.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, we get it all the time. We get it all the time on here. People come in and claim that the country is now racist towards people that look like me. Happens all the frickin' time.
Oh, wow.
That it's flipped now.
I see. Interesting.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, listen, think about that. Thing about that is, like I said, if you say it flat out, that is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
But for a moment, I'm sorry, Kia. But
I was just gonna say it's crazy when there's 76% of this fucking country's population that
Of course.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Right. No, you're good. Listen, here's the wild thing to me. It's just like what Kia was saying yesterday. Yo, even let's for just one moment. Hold on, son. What you need? You want some more? Okay, I got you, son. But let's just say for what you're talking about, let's say these quote unquote tides are turning. The types of people that you've empowered to be in office that we've been warning you about, we don't want that for you either. We wouldn't want somebody persecuting you based on your skin tone. Yes, we're telling you, these people that you're supporting are trying to do this to you as well. I don't know why y'all don't get that, but this is what we're against. Nobody wants persecution. No level-headed person that I know wants persecution based on your skin tone. And guess what? If it was happening against people that look like Mike, we'd be against that too. But we're trying to tell you now, we've been telling you. We're telling you from lived experience, you don't want this. You need to really pay attention to what's going on. You need to get away from people like this current administration are acting, because they'll do it to you too.
Sure.
I don't know what you're thinking about over here. What was that? What, a Riley Gaines' husband? Didn't he get deported?
A lot of people's husbands and wives got deported that supported the current administration.
Mm-hmm.
What's even crazier is after it, they interviewed quite a few of them, and their response was, I'd still vote for him again. That's the crazier thing. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
wake them up.
Right.
But then if you ask them, so if your child's sports coach, no matter what they were, was, because one of the first things they say, especially when you talk about the SA stuff, is they say, well, he wasn't found guilty. So if your child's sports coach was found civilly liable for SA, you telling me that it's not the same to you as them being found guilty, and they don't got nothing to say?
Right. You know what, kid? That's that tricky. That's the word games.
But that's why it pisses me off when they start screaming about, like, on top of the fact, you guys know, I can't stand the word illegal. Do not call people illegal. Even like people on our side, when they're sitting there trying to make the arguments, like, we don't have to use the same language as them. We do not have to call them illegal at any freaking point in time. Period. They're fucking human beings. But it pisses me off when they scream about them being here, quote unquote, illegally. But you voted for somebody who has in court and after due process been found guilty of both felonies and a civil liability. That shit is wild to me. So you're just that's where I talk about that racism. That's where that racism is. Just because you don't have people walking around in sheets and setting stuff aglow in people's front yards anymore does not mean that it's not still happening.
Although, there's some things that happened in a state in this country that were far too similar to that part too. So.
And make no mistake about it, they still walking around in sheets. It might not be as in your face as it was, but they still doing it.
Sure.
To me, Kia, like what you say, like the cognitive dissonance is wild. How they somehow reconcile this as I'll still vote for it and I'll still support and all of this. That is truly mind blowing. That is they love to throw that word delusional around. That's some real delusion right there. It's a standard that they would allow for no one else, and somehow they see fit to give that latitude to him. If I said that I was forcefully grabbing women, they would immediately be heralding for me to be, oh no, we can't have that, we can't stand for this, so on and so forth. And you let him do it and go, oh, people act like they don't talk about this. Listen, I have been a man all my life.
What?
And I'm not kidding. Yeah, right. Surprise. Shocker. And I played football, okay, in high school. I've been in many a locker room, okay? I have never, and I'm not exaggerating, I have never, ever heard any guy say that. I literally have never heard any guy that I've never heard them say such a thing. I have never heard that in my life. I really haven't. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I haven't seen some guys who, have said some stuff and I'm like, hey, no, dude, don't say that. That's ridiculous. But that specifically, I've never heard that in my life until I heard him say it. That is nuts. So just a very common sense, like, hey, keep the same. If you're gonna stand on business, then do so, no matter who it is. That's the part with those folks that I can't get with. If you want to be a Republican, cool, okay, you do you. If that's what you believe, the side of the ball you're supposed to be on, you go right ahead. But if your people are doing something foul, I need you to be human enough and smart enough to say, nah, he shouldn't have said that. Don't lie to me. Don't sit up here and try to act like that was an okay thing to say. You can say, look, and I'm not, and again, I'm not for him at all. But if you sit there and you honestly, and your heart of hearts, if you're like, listen, with all the policies, blah blah blah, whatever you tend to think, you're like, hey, this is. I still think he's the best person for the job. Okay, but you still got to be able to call out foolishness when it's foolishness, man. You have to at least be able to say, no, he shouldn't have said that. Don't shoot me no quick ones about no locker room talk and all this other stuff. Get out of here with that garbage. That's the problem. Like you said, Mike. That's their issue. Is you look at foolishness blatantly in the face and still go, I'm gonna support it. That's
Yep.
that is a level of foolishness I've never seen before. I'm not kidding.
Well, because they're so busy still trying to say, what about Obama? What about Biden? And that's the thing. It's like, if you cannot defend your person without using somebody else's name, there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're being falsely accused of doing something. You know what I mean? But like when you're talking about data and numbers under when somebody was a president and you're sitting here talking about other presidents, you've already lost. You have to be able to, and that's the thing. There's what can they say? Because you know what, Suge, I think the very first time people voted for him, I would have been okay with that. But after him winning and you seeing what he did, or actually what he did not do, I don't even know which one is worse with him, honestly. They're both just as bad as one another. What he did and what he didn't do. And the fact you thought it was good enough to vote for somebody like that, and the things that happened, just like now how he's sitting here throwing out all this stuff about Biden's DOJ and Jan 6th. Biden was not the president when January 6th happened. Or
Right.
did he forget that?
Right.
I mean, personally, I didn't want him to be president the second he came out as running in the primaries, but for me, the fact that after the whole audio of him talking about grabbing a woman's private parts, I was done after that, and the fact that anyone was still willing to vote for him after that was I was even more done than I already was, and
yeah, I'm with you, Mike. That's why when he ran, and I was like, nah, we can't. This dude, we got to go do something. Like if ever there was, for me, probably like I said at that time, obviously I'm a little bit different now. Y'all know I'm growing more and more into the, getting out to the polls and everything. But I was like, if there's ever a time for me to make sure that I get over there, it can't be that dude. Because like we discussed,
well,
he's not been a good dude historically. Just like before presidency, that dude has never been someone that should be in charge of pretty much anything. He's always been about himself.
Yep.
His whole track record is about him being about himself.
Yep.
So to me, that's the thing. Before he was president, before these policies and all of that, this dude has showcased himself to be nothing short of narcissistic.
Yep.
Even if he wasn't racist or any of that, he's very self motivated, and you cannot trust someone who's not looking out for anyone but number one, so to speak.
So it's
Just
interesting.
no, he ain't even. You know what I mean? He ain't even. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I've been thinking about today and the
Yeah.
discussions we've been having, and I think it's emphasizing more the issue that we have. So, Democrats, there's a lot of people that talk about how we as Democrats need to stop focusing on these social issues and focus on issues that we can agree with on the other side. And I was thinking about today and our whole conversation. We had like 2 or 3 people that obviously I was in many ways we were in complete disagreement on, but we were talking and we were agreeing on tons of things. Tons of things. I would say something and they'd be like, yes, 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 we agree. I never once mentioned, Patty, thank you, my friend. I never once mentioned any social things specifically. One of them brought up the idea of the LGBTQIA community, specifically the trans community. And I said what I believed. And all of a sudden, they left. And I was like, in my head, I was just like, this is the problem, right? That is a difference in fundamentals, and we're told that we need to stop bringing up social issues, except they keep bringing up social issues. And I'm not going to sit here and argue I'm not going to sit here and deny what I believe. I believe that as someone who is not trans, that I have no right to tell a trans woman or man that they are not what they are. Especially since I have no way, the only possible explanation for me to disagree with it is I don't understand it. Which, if you listen to anybody, no matter what they say about sports and bathrooms, if you go down deep into it, it's because they don't understand it. They don't understand how it's possible. The only explanation that makes sense to them is it's some sort of mental illness.
Yeah, I understand that. In terms of like I said, you believe what you believe. So this is something. Okay, so to me, and this is not, I don't want to get off on, I'm not trying to rub anybody the wrong way or anything. In terms of this, and I understand that people have different trains of thoughts about this, and there's people who are just going to flat out disagree and all of that. For me personally, my biggest challenge, and it's not about saying whether you're this or whether you're that. I know what I believe concerning the thing as a whole, and I'm not afraid to say that. But I'm not trying to get off on the tangent here. My biggest thing is that there are real challenges that do need real solutions, and I don't think those those are the conversations that I don't think are being had or observed, because it is already a tough human situation to navigate as is. So yeah, I agree. Like,
But
I'm not trying to force anybody into either box.
and that's fine, and I'm not trying to
Mhm.
to do that, but
Sure.
is it really a tough, because again, the problem is that there is groups of people that can't accept that they will never understand. So
Yeah.
again,
Go ahead.
like I don't understand what it's like to be transgender because I'm not. Never thought it, never considered it.
Mhm.
So it does not matter what I'm told, anything. I'm never going to fully understand it.
Sure.
what's the discussion that we need to have that that can because that's what they're looking for. They're putting the whole situation into something that makes sense to them, which is why they go mental illness, because in their brain, based on their lack of interaction with anyone from that community, based on the fact that it makes them uncomfortable, the fact that there are guys that are worried about hitting on women that used to be that were born with male body parts. Like those are the things that they're afraid of. They don't, especially when there is plenty of data out there that shows that women in general, in a vast, like we're talking like the vastest majority, are actually safer around members of the trans community than they are around people of the opposite gender, just in general. Like men, people that identify as men, are more dangerous to women than trans women are to women. And that has been shown with in multiple studies and situations. And when people come up and they say we need to worry about trans women in women's sports, when there are a total of 10 people in the entire country that are actually involved in college sports in any professional and major way, that looks like the biggest overreach on the planet, because it completely ignores why most of those trans individuals are even taking a part in it, because they like sports. They're not trying to become professionals. Will one maybe become professional here and there? Sure. But again, you look at the people that are complaining, it's the people that are angry that this person is making money in women's sports. It always comes back to money. It has nothing to do with the person who is doing something that they love and happens to be doing well at it. Especially again, when history has proven that of trans women that have taken part in sports with other women, they have not done dramatically better. They just haven't. And all of this gatekeeping and fear-mongering has done is endanger women who identify as women and have always been women. The amount of women in this country that to people on the right look masculine and have decided that they are trans and have ruined their life because of it vastly outweighs the number of women that have been hurt by the transgender community. And yet it's still always a focus on the transgender community.
As the female presenting person up here, I would like to say that, like I said in the comments, there's so many things I have to say. First, we use gender neutral bathrooms at home, and you don't think anything of it. And the crazy thing is that everybody else's bathrooms are used just the same way as ours are at home. Why is it such a problem? Because you were told it was a problem. Wherever it was, whether it was some religious person who doesn't like it, whether it was a family member who didn't like it, whether it was coach, whatever, somebody put that in your head that it's not right or what have you. But you don't think anything of it. My sons and I use the same bathrooms. What's the big deal? And the thing is, like, I went to a drag show, and the bathrooms, it was like held in a place that's a bar, and both of the bathrooms are gender neutral. And guess what? There was no line, there was no issues with anybody, because you know what? Everybody just had to go to the bathroom and leave. I think it's the problem is when you fall into the trap of falling for a scapegoat, they're always trying to put it, it's always it was it was gay people, it was black people, it was the Jewish people. If you look at every single atrocity that's ever been committed to any kind of groups of people, whether it's been all
Everything all right?
Yeah, come back.
those few people, I think for I
Oh,
think where a lot of the problem is they see Mike putting on a dress and a wig, and that is what being transgender means. They have no understanding of what truly being transgender means, what it feels like. I don't think people understand, like, you're not going to just wake up one day and decide, like, I'm going to choose the most hardest difficult path in life that I can absolutely have. I'm not transgender, but I cannot imagine how it would feel to feel like you were trapped in the wrong body, like this was not who you're supposed to be. I can't even imagine how mentally taxing and terrifying that has to be.
Yep. I mean, I I've said this before. The reason that I truly believe it, because I've seen the responses that people have, and because it's always about schmecks to conservative cisgender men. Um, they're scared to death of hitting on someone and finding out that they've got male reproductive organs. They are scared to death of it.
Ooh, do you guys remember, speaking exactly to your point, there was a rash of unalivings of especially transgender females, and they were finding them like out in fields, and like, and that's exactly what they're thinking is
Mhm.
like the issue is either A, they didn't know and somebody got pissed off, or B, they did know and they went ahead with whatever they were thinking at that moment, and then afterwards were so upset by what they did that they did it.
I
And
mean,
that was like a big thing. Like people were like, and there was several, y'all, if you haven't ever heard that, please look it up. There were several people that were unalive.
why, Tiffany? Because men are um, cisgender white conservative men are um, are children, and the idea of being quote unquote gay, like they're worried that they will be looked at as being gay if they hit on another, what they consider another man. And again, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. But uh, uh, we're already learned that logic with a lot of these people is not, that's not how you're Tiffany, you're trying to tell someone how their brain should or shouldn't work is a losing battle. Now, I think this is something that we can fix, but that is what we're dealing with right now.
You know, the other thing I wish that we would be talking about all these people talking about they don't want transgender athletes in the sports locker rooms. Are you guys not paying attention to how many coaches have been locked up and accused, whether on a collegiate level in all these high schools? Like, there's a big scandal brewing in Raleigh at NC State. There's like 14 or 17 young men that have come forward against their male coach. They're focusing on the wrong problem, and I think that's that scapegoat mentality, like, oh, that's the bad person because that's not right, but you're not. Look at the people who are saying it. You're literally, it's like, ooh, look over there while I'm doing the bad stuff over here. But y'all, that is a problem.
I mean, AB, yeah, the a lot of people, a lot of conservative people um are part of the community and won't admit it. And they feel guilty about it because they've been told all their life that there is almost nothing worse that can be.
Okay. So all right. So I'm gonna chime in here for a moment. So uh I'm not I'm not speaking on like anything that I said. I'm not speaking from a place of fear, or I'm not in my feelings about this in the slightest. Okay. So I want to call out one thing, just based on the last thing that Kia said. I agree that that's a problem too. I don't think that's the same issue. I understand what you're saying, that shouldn't be overlooked at all, but that to me, that doesn't equate the same. That needs to be handled too. In addition, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that anyone should be mistreated based on the decisions that they've decided to make for their own life at all. What I I'm being very sincere when I say this. What I don't quite understand, and it's not about even about being transgender. What I don't quite understand is where some of the thought process comes behind, some of the thought processes that are within the trans community. So I'll give you an example. I saw a couple. Okay, I saw a couple, and each of the biological sex transitioned into the other biological sex. Okay, no problem. They then went on to have a child together. The trans man got pregnant, and so obviously they had the biological parts necessary to make that happen. Well, the trans woman then proceeded to say, for the 1-month-old daughter, they said, I'm not sure why she's not latching on to me being able to breastfeed her. So to me, is that it's not, and granted, I am not as a blanket saying all trans people are like this. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But those instances of it is the part that I have to say, okay, wait a minute. And it's not about calling anybody mentally anything, but where is the like, to me, that's the part. Like, first, by their own mouth admission, said that they didn't even think it was possible for them to be pregnant. Like, who is not telling them
here's the
that
thing.
that's a possibility? You didn't think you could be pregnant?
I understand that, but here's the thing, Shug, is
Yeah.
you're pointing out one, because again, if we're gonna sit here and point out a specific person, a specific couple people in any group that is doing something or saying something that doesn't make any sense, we could literally do this all day, every day. The point that we're trying to make here is, you're seeing that it doesn't make any sense. You're going, this doesn't make any sense. That, you said it yourself, is that's not everybody. So because that's not everybody, we need to stop looking at it from the context of that not being everybody. We need to look at the context of a whole. Again, if our discussion is going to be that there is going to be people in any group that are doing things that are abnormal or we don't agree with or don't make sense, then we can do this literally about every group, because every group has it.
Okay. And
because I got to get ready to go. My son's sick. I got to go get him at work, and it's 12 o'clock. But I will say, I was a woman who has birthed naturally out of my own body 3 children, and I couldn't get the first one to latch, and I didn't want to try the other 2. I just think that's just, dang, Shug, you kind of got me blown on that one. Just because you have all the parts naturally doesn't mean everything is going to work. Just because a woman has a magic portal and she has a uterus doesn't mean she's going to ever get pregnant. Doesn't mean she's ever going to carry a baby. And that's part of the issue. Like the being the women and the male and female is a biological schmix thing that's given at birth, but it has so many different things. There's more than just XX and XY chromosomes, and that's on the scientific level. And being transgender is not a decision that somebody makes. It is not a choice. It has been proven that it's biological. This is something that they are born with, and just because at the younger part of their life they don't know how to fully form it and put it into words how they're feeling and what's going on with them, that's why it usually doesn't take until they get a little bit older. But I do gotta go so I can go get my son. Much love to you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
See ya.
All right, much love.
The point is,
hold on, Mike, can you give me a second so I can at least respond to that?
sure.
Okay. I'm not saying that. Yes, I know that things can go wrong in any biological situation. Things can go wrong. I'm aware of that. I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, yes, women have trouble latching as well. What I was saying specifically to that situation was that's legitimately not going to happen.
Okay.
The person I'm saying what I'm saying is that's just legitimately not going to happen. There's nothing to latch on to in that realm.
Okay. But what does it matter?
Because it matters because that child's not going to get fed that way.
So the child gets fed another way.
No, right, Mike, that's what I'm saying. They weren't exploring a different way to feed the child.
Well, but okay. So in that case, there's an issue. But we're not talking just about that case. We're talking about all of the transgender community. Like, again, we don't make laws based on one person. We don't make rules based on one person. We make rules that are supposed to grow, that are supposed to protect, that are supposed to involve everyone. And that's the point, is every time that someone, and again, anytime someone says, oh, we need to have a big conversation because I had an interaction with a member of this community and this happened, even though it does not happen in 99.999% of the situations, that's focusing on, like, would you want anyone to say that we should or shouldn't do something involving the Black community because someone with my skin color had a bad interaction with someone in that community? No, we shouldn't. We should not be holding an entire group of people, an entire community based on something that one person, two people, even five people may do, because there's a whole bunch more to it than that.
Sure. I very much believe that what is happening within the trans people within the trans community is something that very much should be considered, because it's not just happening to a one-off. I 100% agree that we should look at and say, all right, hey, what's best for everybody involved? I'm not against that at all. And also, y'all, listen, I appreciate y'all. I'm glad that y'all are in the discussion, but don't try to paint me as this, why does he care so much and all of that stuff. That is not what's going on here. I am not over caring about this or trying to demean anyone. What I'm saying is I do believe that, as far as this, like he had talked about using the same bathroom and everything, I think that's the least of everything going on here. I'm not worried about the bathroom situation.
But that's the point. You're
what
not.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is that, as to your point, as a whole, if how do you? I guess where you arrive, where I'm trying to look at is, how do you arrive at a situation where everybody can be comfortable? Like, so I'll give you a very simple example. I think if they're quote unquote so worried about bathrooms, then let's just make gender neutral bathrooms or whatever. Just make a gender neutral bathroom
But you're never
and
going to
you
make
know,
everyone comfortable.
right. But what I'm saying is, how do you? So to what you were saying, if everybody's not going to be comfortable, then what's the solution? Like, is it just they just get to win, so to speak, or
No,
y'all just get to
this
lose? You know what I mean? I
the
don't understand.
solution is what it always should be. Is you if you think there might be a problem, you
Yeah.
look into it and you show and you get data on whether or not it's a problem. And if
Okay.
it's not a problem, then you accept it. If you as a person feel
Hmm.
uncomfortable for whatever reason, as ridiculous as it sounds, then go to, like, most places got family bathrooms. Go into that if you're that worried about it. If you're that worried about it, do that. Or get to know people before you make a decision. The problem is we're making laws about this when the data shows completely differently. This is the thing. We're making decisions about things based on no data, or at least no data that, like, complete opposite of the data. They're basically just saying we can't have men in women's bathrooms because it's a man in a woman's bathroom without being willing to understand or accept that a trans woman is a woman,
Hmm.
understanding how those people view the world, understanding how those people got to where they're at. If they actually understood, of course they would know they wouldn't have to worry about it. Because to a trans woman, a trans woman is a woman. So why would anyone need to be afraid about that? The only reason they're afraid is because their brains don't have the capability of accepting the fact that that trans woman is a woman. All they see is the reproductive organs, and because that's all they
Hmm.
see, they think that they're going to act exactly the same as men have done constantly in this country. The fact is men are a danger far too much in this country when it comes to women. And the reason that they can't accept it is because that's all they see is reproductive organs. They don't see the trans woman for who they are. They see things that they see and they hear things that don't make any sense to them. And again,
Hmm.
we are making laws based off of this. That's the problem. They're not having a discussion. They're not trying to learn. They have decided that this is a mental illness. They have decided that they are a danger. They have decided that the 10 trans men or women in
Hmm.
sports are destroying sports for all women because all they think about is getting money and the amount of money that they will get, that their daughters are losing out on because of the transgender community. And again, this kind of stuff doesn't make sense to you. That's fine. It's completely, and honestly, it's completely understandable, especially if you haven't interacted with any of them.
Okay. Well. Okay. So I'm gonna pause right here for a minute because I don't know what exactly is going on with y'all in this chat right now. I'm not obsessed, y'all. I'm only having this conversation because I want to understand further what other people think about it. I'm not obsessed. Stop asking me why save your finger energy. I'm not obsessed, y'all. I don't have a problem with the trans community. Okay? Listen, there are plenty of people that I interact with. I have trans friends. Okay? I don't have a problem with the trans community living how they want to live. I'm just asking about these things on this scale. I'm simply asking the questions.
Yeah,
I don't think it's disingenuous to ask questions. Yes, in any situation, there are going to be people that give any community a bad name. I got that. I get that. I understand that. But please stop thinking that I'm obsessed. I'm
Got
not obsessed.
okay. We need. I need to say something to this community,
Go ahead.
again, I'm for this community. I'm not getting on them for how I understand how you're feeling, Shug.
Yeah.
They're hearing things, and they've dealt with a lot of people in this community have dealt with a lot. So if they
Sure.
get defensive, that is why they're getting defensive. But this is
No,
to the
go ahead.
community. We are a community that has conversations, that is willing to have hard conversations. And the biggest requirement is that everyone we're having conversations with are willing to listen, willing to learn, and willing to be wrong. So we are not the police of other people, in the sense of we are not going to sit here and go, someone is coming in and having a perspective that we have all worked our way through and maybe they haven't, and we are not going to just push people away. If you are new here, Shug has come in, he has had perspectives, we have had conversations, he has listened, he has been willing to admit he's wrong, he's been willing to disagree. There has never been a time. And if there was ever a moment where I felt that he was making statements based on his experience and his thoughts that I thought changed, the conversation would be over. So we need to understand that. Part of learning, part of growing, part of changing is having these conversations. I don't know. None of you know what Shug has gone through and is through his life, how he got to where he got. The fact that he's willing to talk about it and he's willing to let me or Kia or any of us talk, and sometimes get pretty emotional, because a lot of us have been dealing with this, have been having these conversations for a long time, for a longer time than maybe Shug has had. That doesn't make his experiences not worth having a conversation about, because the only way that we can get on the same page is if we have these conversations.
I appreciate that. Mr. Two, it is not about, no, I'm not making that statement in a, I'm not proving myself in that regard. I know, I understand that statement. I'm not proving myself to you or to anyone here in terms of saying that. What I'm saying, the reason why I'm bringing that up is that I'm saying I have had conversations much more in depth than this and have asked these questions to them because I very much want to understand where someone's coming from before I make any sort of uh, judgment call as far as how I personally act or feel about something. And to my point, just because I may or may not disagree with something, and also I never said personally, I never said that it bothered me. I didn't say that. That's why. So I don't understand. To me, I don't understand where you're thinking I'm obsessed. I'm not obsessed. I am simply making comment or asking questions based off of what I've seen, so that we can all grow together. Um, so no, I don't. Like I said, that wasn't a validating statement for you or for anyone here. That's me
Yeah,
telling you that I do interact and I have and do interact with folks of the trans community. And for all the trans friends that I do have, the trans friends that I do have, they are wonderful people. The most of the trans folks that I've met, wonderful people. Anybody in any community can be a terrible person if they make bad choices in general. It doesn't matter what tone, orientation, gender, none of that matters. If you make bad decisions, then you're a bad person and you need to stop doing that. But that's not what I'm saying here. I'm not vilifying anybody. I'm simply saying and trying to make sure that I understand properly what is being said, and then I'm responding accordingly. So for anybody who thinks I'm obsessed or that I have a problem, no, I don't have a problem. Even if I may disagree with something or whatever, I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure that my ultimate goal is to make sure that no matter who the person is or what they think, that I treat them civilly and respectfully. Period.
Hey, Theory.
Good morning, or good afternoon at this point.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Shug, I missed the conversation. I missed everything. I got here in the nick of time, I guess. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm hearing from the chat is that there are judgments that we make as people, that we all make against other people, against ourselves, against our own communities, against communities that we're not a part of, that have no bearing on whether or not those communities can continue living lives the way they want to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between what you think is okay and not okay, or weird or not weird, or, normal, not normal, and what is like someone else's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we make judgments in our own language about people, especially communities that we don't belong to,
Mm-hmm.
it immediately puts people at the defense because it comes from a place of judgment. And it's really hard to get out of that because it's in your language, right?
Sure.
Oh, darn. Hold on. I got to sign for a package. Darn it.
Okay.
So again, there is a lot of emotion regarding this, especially here.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I have so here's the thing that I have, like, when you talked about the two members of the trans community before.
Sure. Yeah.
The problem that I have is that you brought up, like, the issue was that it was a trans person that was doing this, because arguably we'd have the same issue
Mm-hmm.
if a person who had the biological function technically of doing it was quote unquote trying to feed their baby and not doing it because they were unable for whatever reason. Like, the
Okay.
problem is that a baby wasn't getting fed. The problem should not have been that it was a transgender woman that was trying to do it. The problem was it was a baby. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's when we separate, it's when we start bringing in the problem as being part of the transgender community as opposed to the actual problem, which is a baby not getting fed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So, yes. Okay. So I understand where me introducing that would seem would seem like that was the okay. So all right, let me say it like this.
I do think it's deeper than what it seems like. I do think it's deeper than what it seems like, because that again is placing blame on the people who took it the wrong way. I think it's a framing situation that's happening. So if I'm telling a story and in my story, I'm saying that someone is doing something incorrectly and their race has nothing to do with why they're performing something wrong, why would I start by saying a Black man was driving the wrong way on the road?
Okay, so yes, all right. I understand. I understand the points that you're making. What I'm saying, as far as what I said, so we were already talking about the trans community. So for me, I was respecting what they referred to themselves as, not a, oh, look who did this. No, it was simply because if I was to say the same story, right? If I go man and woman, and I don't say what the transition was, I thought that was, I only brought it up because it was relevant to once we got down to the biology. I only said that because that was just the progression of what I was trying to understand, not as oh, look what trans people are doing. That had nothing to do with it.
I never.
And I agree that the issue, and which was my main point, was trying to understand how is the child getting fed if they are not believing that this is a possibility, is or isn't a possibility based on what they believe that they are. That is what I was trying to get at and to understand is, hey, the baby needs to be fed regardless of how you feel. The baby
Mhm.
does need to be fed.
Mhm.
And just realistically, as far as what I can tell, unless there's some data showing otherwise, that for the individual, I'm just going to say the individual so we don't interject anything, they don't have what's necessary to create that. Now, that being said, let me say this last point. That being said, even if there is however you want to say it, even if there is a biological female that cannot or is unable to produce the food for that child, you do understand it. Even if we can't fix it, we understand. But it's, as far as I'm understanding, that the possibility for that is supposed to be there, even if we can't fix it. So I get that, and I'm not denying anybody who's gone through a struggle in that way.
I'm not saying you
And
are.
all I'm saying is that, no, I know, not you. I'm mostly responding to this Mr. person because I believe they really have me. They really
I
have me
think
gone
again.
in a very different way. So I'm trying to respond to that without
I understand
going
that.
directly at it.
So and you are somewhat new to the craziness that is my lives. There are
Okay, sure.
there are a lot of people that have had a lot of experiences that
Mhm.
cause them to get very defensive very quickly. They're all valid. They're absolutely valid.
Sure.
So what I would suggest on for you, especially when having these hard conversations, is
Mhm.
to not. It's really easy to take what chat tries to say in a 160 characters or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever the limit is. Yeah.
It's really easy to read into it. It's really easy to read into it. It's really easy to take it from a perspective that they may not have wanted.
Sure.
So
Go ahead.
that in that respect, I always caution anyone when they're up here and we're having these hard conversations to be careful on reading into what someone is or isn't doing, because it's very easy to miscommunicate when they're trying to talk in chat. We don't know a lot of what's going on. We don't even know these people. They're just coming in and they're chatting. We don't know what they've heard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you 100% there, and I am totally okay with someone challenging me or asking me anything. I have no qualms about that, y'all. I've been to war twice. I am no stranger to tough and extreme situations. I'm totally okay with that. It's
So
just it's the thing is, if you're going to say something, you need to, like the when the gentleman said, oh, excuse me, person, I don't want to assume anything. When the person said, do your research first, I did do that first. See, to be like, you didn't ask
so
if I did research
again,
first. You just said, do the research first,
I
buddy.
hear what you're
I
saying.
did that.
And
So
and this is
it's just like ultimately I'm just like I feel like I'm responding to what's being said. I'm not trying, like I'm not trying to read into anything. It's just that's what was said and that's what I responded to.
so again, I
But
think
go ahead.
there is again, the other thing that you need to understand about TikTok especially
Sure. Yes. Okay.
is there are a lot, sometimes it's really easy to to have people that come in and say things that it is often assumed, whether right or wrong, that if people come in and they say things that are against what we as this community have had a lot of conversations about,
Yeah.
going to the fact that they didn't research, because most people that come in here
Hmm.
show very quickly that they have not. So the go to do your research thing is just, it has become a very common response by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
again, this is why I say it's easy. And again, I've been doing this for over 2 years now.
Yep.
Maybe 3 years now. I've gotten to a point where it does not I read what people are saying. I try not to assume what people are saying. And again, he may have meant it exactly like you were hearing it.
Okay.
I'm saying our goal here is to have a conversation with the people in the box. That is the
Understood.
goal.
Not a problem.
The people on chat, they will say things, and sometimes the stuff they say, it will get brought up. Let's have this conversation.
Sure.
That's what we need. That's what we need to do. I mean, everyone should be doing our research all the time anyways, but
Right.
in the grand scheme of things, we need. And so I just want to go back quick to the thing you said
Yeah,
before
go ahead.
about the two people. I hear you.
Mhm.
I hear everything you were saying, and I
Yeah.
understand everything you are saying.
Yeah.
It still comes down to the fact that the problem was the kid not being fed, but
Sure.
because you said two transgender people beforehand, you
Mhm.
put the focus on that part and not the fact that a child was not getting fed, not the fact that there was someone who was focusing on trying to feed their child in a way that was not possible.
Okay.
So that's the problem when we're having this conversation, whether it's with conservative MAGA or just in general, is
Sure.
we have to be careful about how we frame the statement, because the statement is, I know someone that was trying to feed their child and they didn't have the capability. Regardless of whether they were trans or not, they did not have the capability of doing it.
Right.
That's the problem. But because
Sure.
you said I knew a transgender man and woman who were married, they had a child together, and the transgender woman was trying to feed this child, and that's the problem. When we're having that conversation in
Sure.
a public setting, especially like this, but in general, what ends up happening is the focus ends up being on the fact that they are transgender, not that they are trying to feed their child in a way that is not possible.
Yeah. Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I got him.
And that's I think where the discussion has broken down in so many places in America, is we try and we have these conversations from the point of blame instead of the point of the actual issue. You know, are we teaching, you know, it's not like nobody interacted with this couple before they had a child to make sure that they understood what was going to be necessary. I would
Right.
assume someone had a conversation with them, but maybe they didn't and they should have. Maybe the doctors didn't have the right conversation. I don't know. I don't know this couple, so I can't make that
Sure.
decision.
Yeah. I can't speak to him.
But
Right.
that's where the problem comes, is we are making a lot of snap judgments. And because we are so good at making snap judgments in this society, that we also need to be careful how we frame things. Because right now, there's lots of snap. One transgender woman has done well in the Olympics. And because of that, then all transgender people in Olympics are a bad thing. It's, you know, a person who got 7th in a race that would have only gotten 6th if the person who was, if the transgender woman did not win, somehow is, you know, that's the fight. The fight wasn't, you know, These are the things. It's not, that's why we need to be careful about how we frame things when we have these conversations.
No, I totally understand that, and like I said, I'm not, none of this is lost to me, and I get that. I can totally understand where I could frame that better so folks don't, miss what I'm saying, and I can do that. Future forward, I can totally do that, and to do that. But I just want to let y'all know, like, and for you and for everybody here, like, y'all, I'm definitely not, I'm not trying to persecute anyone. You live how you want to live. And I can tell you this, in most situations, I am not bothered by how folks want to live their life. As long as we can be civil to one another about things,
Right. And
I'm really not worried. I'm
we're
really not
not,
concerned.
the
Okay.
problem with these discourses and the problem with this platform and any platform really is
Yeah.
that we don't know you as a person, right? And we shouldn't have to know you as a person to unpack what it is that you're saying. And so I think for the people in this community, we're all really aware of marginalized communities and how we speak, and we're constantly checking each other, and it can be really overwhelming because it's like, oh, did I fuck up? Did I say something wrong today? Like, what, who's mad at me now? Vonda, love you. But like, I think for you, the take home should be, it's not just anecdotal anymore. It isn't just a story anymore. Once you frame a marginalized community as the protagonist and antagonists in the story.
Sure.
And I think if you feel like you have to defend yourself by saying, I have trans friends, might I remind you how it feels when someone who's being actively racist tries to defend themselves by saying, I know black people.
I'm sorry, I need to stop you there. I understand you came on at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and just stop that one there, only because that doesn't need to go further. I have already said
no,
that.
it does, because I think you're not getting.
Listen to me.
No, it's because you
haven't.
said that while I was here.
No,
right?
but
You
right, but
said that you know transgender friends.
yes,
You say that
and
you know transgender people.
yes.
What I'm saying is, if you feel like that's rising up in you, that should be a marker, like, oh, I must have said something. Like, I must have done something wrong, right? Because if you feel that defense kicking in, it's because you've somehow stepped into something and that requires a step back, right? What I heard was, and up until this point, which, the conversation with me and Mike and being really receptive to what we're saying was defensive. What I say is, like, that can be a knee-jerk reaction that doesn't go over well in this type of space, because again, these people don't know you. And so if you ever feel like that defense is kicking in, just be like, yeah, I messed up somewhere. Let me listen for a minute before I start saying things.
Here's and I'll let you respond in just a second, Chuck.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead, Mike.
I know you. I've known you for 5 years.
Yep.
I know you are accepting and caring and are willing to listen, which is why I'm willing to have these conversations with you, which is why I was willing to bring you up, because I firmly believe that we believe in the same fundamentals. When we're here, when we're having these conversations, the thing that I would strongly suggest that I had to learn how to do is we have to assume when we talk that there are going to be people that will hear what we're going to say differently. And I say this only because I know you, and I know your desire is to care and love on people. Like, your thing is everyone time someone comes into your streams, you're giving them a big hug and you're welcoming them and you're loving on them. Doesn't matter who they are welcome. And that's one of the things I love about you. But I was feeling the defensive-ness of you. I was feeling you trying to to almost prove to the people in the chat that you are not what they were hearing. And again, I think that's a problem. That's a problem that we have in society. We do have a lot of people that will make knee-jerk reactions just based on one thing that we say. Unfortunately, what that means is we need to be triply careful about what we say. So I hear you, and I know, I can feel it. Literally, I can feel it in my gut, your desire to want people to see you how you really are.
Yeah.
How I know you are.
Yeah.
This is just part of learning and growing. There's one thing I will tell you about my live. I can't promise this about everyone in chat, but I can promise this about my live, is that if you are willing to listen, if you are willing to learn, if you are willing to be wrong, I'm willing to have a conversation with you about it. And it's one of the things that I love about you. It's one of the things that I have always known about you. So when it comes to what Theory was saying, I agree with. It's not that we are very much about you showing us who you are. So you don't need to tell the people, you don't need, and I'm saying this as a brother, okay?
Yeah.
You don't need to tell the people that you have friends in the trans community. What they want to hear is that when they say when you're saying something that you find out hurts them for whatever reason, because let's be fair, when people get hurt, they get angry, they get defensive. That is a very common response.
Hurt people. I understand that.
What they want to hear, what they want to see, is you listening and you learning and you growing. And that is what this community thrives on. I have made mistakes. And when I make a mistake, my first reaction is to get defensive, because no one wants to make mistakes. Nobody wants to make mistakes. But what I'll end up doing is stopping and listening and learning. And that's all we can do. And again, I hope you don't feel like I or anyone is, I know there's a part of you that feels this way, but know that this is not an attack against you, because I said this before. I love you, brother. I've known you for 5 years, and I respect you so much. And I say this fully out of love, because I want you to become a part of this community and learn and grow, just like we all want to do that are here.
Understood. So first, let me say I appreciate you. I love you as well. Theory, I love you as well. Even listen, I love y'all in this chat. I really do. Okay. I just want I want to make sure that this is very clear. I know that line. I get it. I just want to make sure you understand the heart. Yes, I understand. And again, even when I said it, it wasn't in defense of myself. It really was not. My point in bringing that up was that I made the effort to know the trans community before I chimed in with anything.
I know. And we,
so I just,
at least my perspective, I never saw that as you actually thought that. My goal after that statement was to come in and say, this is where the problem comes in with your argument. This is where the problem comes in with your statement. And I think, and I think we just what ended up happening was, because I know you, I was able to see that perspective from you, where a lot of the people in the chat don't know you, and they heard something different. And that's just something that we need to, that's a balance. That's a part of these hard discussions. And I hope everyone in chat is learning from this, because this is what hard discussions look like. This is what hard conversations look like. And honestly, obviously it's easier maybe for people that look like me in many situations, but hard conversations get uncomfortable at times, and they involve emotion, and they involve a lot of other things. So like, I will never hold purity culture on this live if I can help it. And if I do, I hope Theory drives over from Jersey and smacks me really, really
Oh, my
hard.
hand's ready.
Huh?
Hand's ready.
Hands ready. Yeah. I will. We are talking about very emotional, very difficult things. And a lot of people in this community have been personally, in some way, shape, or form, affected by the rhetoric coming
Absolutely
from many on the right, especially regards to the LGBTQ community as a whole, but specifically the trans community. So that is why there's a lot of defensiveness that you're seeing. So again, I think we're good. I think you're hearing. Obviously, we'll still make mistakes and we'll still have to learn. Like I said, I make them all the time. Just know that what this community looks for in people is not that we're always right, not that we do everything right. It's that when we mess up, that we listen and we learn and we grow. That's it.
Sure, and I'm gonna say this. This is about I'll give you I'll give you just an example of as far as the journey that even some people in here have known. Like I said, I can say 100% that as far as me not voting in the past, I was wrong. Even if I didn't believe that either side particularly was nefarious, for me not using my voice in that way, that was something I should not have done. Okay, for me, that's a growth point. That's something that I had to learn to just how far those things reached. And so I will get involved, and I will make sure that I vote. As best as what I possibly believe is best. I'll do that, and I can say that.
Yeah.
And I just so people understand where I'm from. But this here, this was from a place of passion and making sure that people were okay. That wasn't defensive. And I know not everybody's going to know that. And what I can also say is I will make sure that I do my best to frame things in a way that people don't. And I know I can't. I know I'm not going to be able to always do it. I know, like I said, some things are going to come out not great, and we're going to have to talk about that too. It probably won't be the last time somebody frames something wrong, myself included. So I'm with y'all on the growth. I'm not against you. I'm not your enemy on this at all. I understand your passion. I appreciate y'all being passionate. I just want to make sure that the things that we're being passionate about are still, again, to the same thing. Let's keep it passionate on the issue. Don't be like, oh, well, Shug, you're doing this or you're doing that. You don't know me well enough.
This is what I'm getting at. It seems like you are not. No. I'm cutting you off intentionally because I've been quiet for a very long time. And this is what I need you to realize, that this is the problem. Is what this audience needs from you is to say, I hear you. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. And if it does, I expect you to call me out. That's it. The following framing of what you're doing is more judgment, is saying to people, I appreciate your passion, but I need your passion to be this specific way. Because coming after me isn't going to do anything. When all this community is saying is they want to hear you say, I'm sorry, I hear you, I know I messed up, next time I'll do better. If I don't, call me out. Done. But the preach is the problem. Because who are you to get to say to people how they get to express their passion? And who are you to suggest that they're doing it incorrectly in the first place? Because from my point of view, they took issue with the way that you framed something that was not the correct way that you should have framed something. So their passion is completely in the right place. I'm not telling them that. I'm not coming into this conversation with you having said that until right now to prove my point. But like, you don't need to evangelize. You don't need to continue preaching to these people, to the community about what they're doing wrong. Because in this moment in time, you're in the wrong. And so what they're looking for is an I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. I'm not perfect. That's it.
Okay. So granted that I said that, and part, so, like I said, apparently going past that. And I'm asking sincerely. So from what you just said, why is it, because you said I'm not, so don't say, you said don't come after them for how they decide to be passionate. Why is it then wrong of me and how I chose to apologize?
Because you
You know
haven't,
what I'm saying? Why does that why does that get to be dictated
So
well,
there?
because you haven't apologized.
so I guess the question is, do you want
Mhm.
them to hear your apology, or do you want to be okay with your apology?
I'm true. Yeah, no, I'm truly
No,
apologizing.
but that's what I'm
Go ahead.
asking.
Uh-huh.
If you want,
I guess I just want, I guess ultimately, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand
bye,
the
Theory, I love you.
difference. That I just want to understand, or I just want to make sure that
So
we're
here,
clear on, we're clear on what I actually did. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like I get the reaction. I'm not mad.
but
I want to make that clear.
I
I'm not mad, and I'm not coming at
no.
after the pet. But I
So
like, where was the distinction between what was actually after the issue, and then what was trying to, you know talk to me personally, I guess, or like, where, I guess that's where I'm a little off about. So, but for, for the sake of making sure that we're all on the same page here, I am apologizing about how I framed it. Yes, I do expect y'all to call me out if you feel whatever. I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that it stays on topic and not go further than that.
but
That's it.
you can't, but that's the thing, we can't expect that. We can't
Okay.
expect that.
Oh, fair.
Not on the World Wide Web in a live. That's why I say sometimes you can't, when we're having these
Sure,
kind of
we can't let it
conversations, you
go
can't focus.
past.
That's like saying a
Sure.
random person coming in that has heard 2 seconds, they're going to hear something and
Yeah, I got
and
you.
they're going to do it. So
Okay.
that's why we
All right.
say when we have a conversation and you realize you did something, just a, when I say something, I'll put it in my, it's
Yeah, go
like
for
what
it.
Theory said. When I have screwed up,
Yeah.
especially when it's someone from the community that says I screwed up. Obviously, if I don't know them, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, why do you think you know? But when someone that I know
Yeah.
says that I've screwed up, or we've had a conversation and I realize I screw up, the again, part of, I'm trying to figure out how best to put it.
You're good. You
I
can just say it.
well, no, it's not that I'm not. I want to make sure that I put it in a way like Kia. I've said multiple things wrong, and Kia's called me out,
Yeah.
and my response is something I had to learn. Was my response is, you know what, you're right, and that's it, and literally leave it at that.
Okay.
Because my natural inclination is to want people to know that I'm a good person.
Yeah.
But I have one of those hard things that I've had to realize and accept is that I can't tell people that I'm a good person. I can't tell people where to focus. That's why I say, when you say focus on the right thing, I can't tell people where to focus.
Sure, I got you. Okay.
I can't do that. They focus on whatever they hear and whatever
Whatever
they're
it is,
feeling.
yeah, I got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
We up in the box maybe can frame our focus differently, but I can't control what they hear or what they don't
Sure.
hear. All I can do is do my best when I'm speaking to make sure that they are hearing what I was trying to get them to hear in the first place. And
Sure.
that's where it takes time, and it takes messing up. I did not get to the point where I could speak about all of these different issues right away. There were
Mhm.
many times where I have not spoken a word. I've had people up in the box that I didn't understand, but I knew we had the same fundamentals, but I didn't
Yeah.
understand. And they were having a conversation about something that I felt differently about at the time. And I didn't say a word.
Sure.
And I just listened to them, because it's amazing how many times you learn the right way of saying things that is inclusive of people by just listening. And again, I'm not saying you were or weren't doing it. I'm just sitting here. This is us having a conversation about how difficult it is sometimes to have conversations. This is the problem that we've got in.
Right.
This is the problem we've got in America right now. Is as Americans, we have lost the ability to have conversations. We've got people that come in and say, "I want to be able to say what I want to say."
Yeah, without repercussions.
Without repercussions. I don't understand why people are getting upset at me because this isn't what I meant, because I was just joking, because of X, Y, Z, all of this other stuff. This is us learning. And again, I love you, brother. I know that you do not want to hurt anyone or you're not speaking down about anyone in the LGBTQIA community. This is what, like, we were talking about broad trans rights issues, broad trans issues that are being used against the trans community. And when you came in and used a specific, that's where it became an issue. That literally was the problem we were talking about. Is that the GOP the GOP are using very specific issues to make decisions, to make inferences about the over 1 million members of the trans community that there are in this country. Like that was what Theory was trying to say when she was talking about, and I mentioned it, I think, too. Like, you wouldn't want the actions of Justice Thomas to be how everyone viewed everyone who every black person in this country. We would not want every black person to be judged based on what Supreme Court Justice Thomas thought and did. Nor should we. Which is why you got Kia's like, we don't claim him.
We don't own him. Yeah. Yeah. I get that for sure.
So I appreciate you. I think this is just I'm telling you this as a friend, as a brother.
Yep.
I know you want to defend yourself sometimes, because I know you know how you feel. And sometimes you have to see them going and go, oh man, they misunderstood everything I felt. And just misunderstood everything I just said. And that's possible. Right. That's possible. Yeah. And the way you fix that is you go, I think there's a misunderstanding of what I said.
Sure.
And then try and reframe that in a way that hopefully gets it. And if they still respond, then maybe something you're saying is wrong. And this, again, this is how conversation works. And sometimes hard conversations just suck. So, okay. And I hate to cut you off. I know we've been having this. I've gone an hour over what I was supposed.
I have nothing else to say. No, I appreciate y'all, and I'm glad. Thanks.
I appreciate you, Shug. I went an hour over because I thought this was super important. We don't claim him. Yeah, I got it. I got you. Guys, thank you so much for all of you that hung out all of this extra time. I know a lot of you had to go do things because I'm usually done at 12. If you haven't checked out the episode that came out today, please check it out. It's important. It's especially if you're in North Carolina. If you have friends in North Carolina, please send it to them. Make sure, because one of the things that came out is there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on in this country, in this state even. So please forward that on to people, because these are kind of things that they need to know. Thank you for all the likes, the shares, and the gifts. You guys are awesome. Thank you to everyone on the tube who hung out the whole time and liked everything and all that stuff. Again, I appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow morning. Yeah. You guys are amazing, just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.